Welcome back to CVM Live. Here now are the major stories in detail. And we have a CVM Live story that we're reporting on exclusively here at CVM Live. A beach facility in Sanand that had previously been closed to the public was forced open by a group of returning residents who use the beach for aqua aerobic activities. CVM Live Joel Crosskill reports.
A two-week saga surrounding the access of elderly returning residents to sea and sand at Discovery Bay Beach has had a breakthrough, as the facility that was previously chained and padlock closed was opened once again.
Yeah. I think you can give them back. If you want. Give them back. Come on, people.
Acts have been laid to the root of the tree. Hey, good.
Yes, sir. Freedom.
Freedom.
The patrons could not contain their excitement at the new development.
Today is an absolutely fantastic day, and today
it's like a new resurrection.
I'm trying to find the word to say how we actually feel. What has been happening to us is truly unfair to everybody. This area belongs to seniors, children, and those who have all sorts of ailment that needs the water. It is unfair for certain people within the area to think that they can shut off senior citizens, children, all the activities that they do in the water. So we're truly happy today to be able to come through the gate. And we're truly happy that we can come here and do what keeps us, what? Alive!
Raymond Curlew, the chief agitator for the opening up of the facility, spoke of the legal efforts that have been made to establish access to the beach once again.
I told the crowd a week or so ago that I would be back to remove the lock by force if necessary. And then somebody talked to me and said, look, don't do anything yet until you seek legal advice. I went and I seek legal advice, and I have an attorney dealing with the matter, and the attorney told me I should return and remove the lock because it's illegal for them to lock me out of this piece of premises or property which I've been occupying for over 21 years, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
Past president of the Lay Magistrates Association, Hugh Cross, says the association will no longer tolerate the behavior of justices of the peace who continue to breach the code of conduct. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas tells us more.
The past president did not mince words as he expressed his strong disapproval of JPs, who he says have been violating the rules on a continuous basis. Speaking at the Lay Magistrates Association meeting recently, Cross says JPs are the largest voluntary organization in the island, and these actions, such as imposing charges for services, must be stopped.
When we become aware of such breaches, it is our responsibility to bring it to the attention of the custos of the parish, who would take appropriate action and indeed could decommission such a justice of the peace.
Cross says the association has been encouraging JPs to follow the rules, but a minority refuses to comply.
We recognize that there are times when justices of the peace would, for example, certify photographs for persons whom they really have not known, perhaps never met in a few occasions, and that is a gross breach, a serious and egregious breach of the jurisdiction under which we operate.
He says the behavior of justices of the peace must be of high standard, but they have been receiving complaints that will be dealt with accordingly.
It is very unfortunate that we do get reports from time to time of breaches right across the length and breadth of the country. Some parishes are a little worse than others.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
At least 30 prosecutors participated in a human trafficking training seminar recently held by the United States Agency for International Development. For that story, we turn to CVM Live's Nicoy Wilson.
The Anti-Trafficking in Persons arm of the Jamaica Constabulary Force has seen 4 persons convicted for human trafficking, with 19 arrested and charged in relation to the crime since 2005. Although this indicates that work is being done to tackle the silent crime of human trafficking, Chairman of the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, Carol Palmer, says that those in the fight against crime must be equipped to deal with the cases.
The state must strengthen the enabling environment necessary to vigorously investigate and prosecute cases of trafficking.
Ms. Palmer also highlighted the effects human trafficking has on the victims.
The state must also strengthen the institutional capacities of law enforcement to allow for the aggressive investigation and swift prosecution of offenders of human trafficking. The victim of human trafficking has been dehumanized. Their persona has been taken from them. Yes, the documents go and they are enslaved and so on, but you are not yourself. You are not allowed to think. You are just to do what you are told.
Meanwhile, Senior Superintendent of Police attached to the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Branch, Anthony McLaughlin, says the effects of human trafficking are not limited to social decay and transnational criminal activities.
Human trafficking is also a public health issue. One, it exposes life-threatening disease and other medical illness. It involves corruption. It increases crime and violence, and we can single out rape, abduction, and quite a number of other crimes that it will affect.
Nicoy Wilson, CVM Live.
$3 million have been provided by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, in support of the Education Ministry's programs for the Safety and Security in Schools project. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas has this report.
The project is a partnership aimed at eradicating the root of social ills in our society by targeting parental issues in the island. Speaking at the regional stakeholders meeting in St. James recently, Chief Executive Officer of the National Parenting Commission, Kesia Carr, says parental places will be created as a resource center for parents.
And so the parent places will offer early literacy intervention, it will offer skills training, it will offer the all-important parent education, and it will also offer psychosocial support. And that last element is also key, because as we talk about all the issues, we also need to peel back the layers a bit to find out what's prompting some of the behaviors that we're seeing.
She says we cannot ignore the parenting issues in the island, as parents need to be retrained to be more functional in their roles.
Coercive parenting, being the way you treat your children, the way you spank them, the way you talk to them, that's directly responsible for the aggression and violence that we're seeing in schools. And so parents need to be retooled, no pun intended, not machetes, no. They need to be retooled and reskilled so that they can be doing better at parenting.
She adds that another research found that single-parent mothers are also responsible for what she describes as sociopaths in our country.
As a single parent, you perhaps take out most of your frustrations on your children. And one of the animated explanations I saw was, "Yo, workless poopa," not, and that is unfortunately beaten into the children. And so that is reciprocated now through violent behaviors in society.
She says this project between the USAID and the Education Ministry will aid in reducing violence among our most vulnerable through parental engagement. Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
And in a rather disturbing story, a bomb threat at one of our local high schools, and the Constabulary Communications Unit issued a release. The release states that they have launched a top-level probe into a threat issued via voice note. It further stated that investigation is being led by an Assistant Commissioner of Police. The voice note is being circulated on social media, and the CCU says the threat was posted by a teenager. The Police High Command is asking persons who may have information that can assist with an investigation to contact the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Branch, that's CTOC, at 967-1389, or call 811, which is Crime Stop, 311, or by using the Stay Alert app to submit the information. We go now to news overseas and join Nicole Wilson for our regional and international stories.
In Trinidad and Tobago, people took to the streets in each port of Spain early this morning, protesting the fatal shooting of a man by a police officer. Dead is 25-year-old Akil Christmas James. The residents burned debris and blocked major roads leading into the capital. By midday, lawmen said they had brought the situation under control. Reports are that the members of the Interagency Task Force attempted to execute a search warrant for firearms and ammunition on premises located at Calvary Hill when they were fired upon by the lone occupant, Mr. James. The police took evasive action and returned fire where Mr. James was hit. He was taken to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 4:20 a.m. A Glock 45 pistol and 7 rounds of ammunition were recovered at the scene. Major international organizations are calling on countries in the Caribbean to strengthen and increase the effectiveness of their tax systems. This is to generate the domestic resources needed to meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and promote inclusive economic growth. These organizations include the International Monetary Fund, the Paris-based Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the United Nations, and the World Bank. The World Bank says domestic resource mobilization presents a particular challenge for developing countries, including those in the Caribbean, which struggle to raise sufficient revenue to provide basic services such as road infrastructure, healthcare, and public safety. In Suriname, police have arrested a woman who may have infected her partner with HIV. The woman's male partner filed a report last week Wednesday after finding out that the 38-year-old woman was infected with HIV. The man told the police that he was in an intimate relationship with the woman for the past 2 years. A series of events led him to confront his partner, who eventually confessed that she is infected with the virus. And in news in the United States, U.S. President Donald Trump supports efforts to improve background checks on gun ownership. The White House says President Trump spoke with Republican Senator John Cornyn about a bipartisan bill that seeks to improve the checks in place before someone can buy a gun. The suspect in last week's Florida school shooting, in which 17 people died, bought his gun legally, prompting students from the school to demand action on gun control. Students have also organized a march in Washington on March 24 and want simultaneous demonstrations to happen nationally. That's it for regional and international news. I am Nicole Wilson.
Standing has been signed between the University of Technology and the Urban Development Corporation that will facilitate sharing of information on architecture and urban planning. Speaking at the signing of the MOU at the university recently, President of UTEC, Professor Stephen Bassiani, says it will allow for staff and faculty exchange as well as physical and technical development.
The Faculty of the Built Environment at UTEC, mainly through the Caribbean School of Architecture, but not only through that school, has had a long-standing relationship with the UDC that has involved architects and others from the corporation working as part-time lecturers in the architectural studios and in other parts of the university. This is an important element of preparing students for work in industry with an understanding of up-to-date real-world context.
Meanwhile, General Manager of the UDC, Dr. Damian Graham, says it will allow for greater collaboration and proposing of activities based on their respective mandates.
One of the experiences that we had this year was that we were looking around for talent in industrial engineering to join the UDC. Certainly because we have a number of parks and facilities that require logisticians and persons who fit in that space, looking at healthcare and various other infrastructure works. And indeed, UTEC is the place.
Well, those were our major stories for this evening. More news coming your way with News Live in 5. But straight ahead is our panel discussion. With several gaps in the country's economic and social development, crime yet to be under control, are our politicians being held accountable? We explore these issues when we come back with Ombudsman Donna Parchment-Brown and lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Clement Lambert. Stay with CVM Live. Panel discussion is next.